Other cultural things that are going on today, right now, that those who utter the phrase all cultures are equal are either oblivious to or ambivalent of. How about slavery? Slavery is still going on in the world, people. Slavery is still going on in the world, as is genocide. But let's talk about the slavery. You have Northern Sudan and you have Southern Sudan. Northern Sudan is of one ethnic origin, and Southern Sudan are black Christians. The Northern Sudanese will sweep down, and if not, well, they're trying to genocide, they're trying to kill all the Southern Sudanese, and those that they don't massacre, they're placing into slavery. That's happening still today. A place called Libya. You may have heard of the news a little while back. It was run by a tin-horn dictator who got overthrown. The famous quote from Hillary, "We came, we saw, he died."
Look, we came, we saw, he died.
The he in that little phrase is Muammar Gaddafi. He's dead now, you bet. And now Libya is a failed state. What filled the void in Libya? ISIS. And you can go to Tripoli, Libya today right now, and you can buy a person to work on whatever you want them to work on for $50, $150. There's a slave market going on in Libya right now because that's how ISIS rolls. ISIS also they have different types of slaves. There's the slaves that you put to work slaves, and then there's a thing called sex slaves. They're typically young ladies, young gals, captured on the battlefield. Yazidis, Christians, whatever. And they are bought and sold on the open market for sex, because that's a cultural aspect of ISIS. That's their culture. That's the laws that they want. And that's their culture. And anybody who says all cultures are equal are either completely ignorant of the world around them, or they're utterly lazy because they don't want to take the time to understand the world around them. And so they want to hold to their multicultural beliefs, and to absolve themselves of the responsibility and of the burden of learning about other cultures, they just brush it off by saying all cultures are equal. And there's one more possibility. And the one more possibility is they've got an agenda. They know these things, but it serves their agenda to say that America is equal to them, or those cultures are equal to America. You know, we could think of when Obama went to Egypt to give his great speech there, and how he said, hey, America has feminist problems just like Egypt does. And I'm thinking, really? Really? America has the same problems as Egypt with regards to a women's fight for equality? I'm not thinking so, Mr. Obama. A little thing called honor killings. Now, to be sure, honor killings have happened in America, but that's because you've got people who have come here from other cultures, and they are not assimilating to American values, and they're murdering their daughters for whatever reason. I'll give you several examples. You've got a Palestina Issa. In 1989, she was starting to date. She wanted to get a job, and she wanted to date a non-Arab boyfriend, a non-approved by her parents boyfriend. The response there was, the problem is she was bringing dishonor to the family, and so the response is her father and mother murdered her. Now, they tried to say it was self-defense, but unfortunately for Mr. Issa and Mrs. Issa, the FBI thought they were terrorists, and they had bugged their house. And it turns out they were in fact terrorists. They were organizing terrorist activities. They were plotting to bomb the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. But because the FBI had bugs in the house, they actually heard the night that Palestina Issa was murdered by her parents for bringing dishonor to the family. There are many other instances. Nori Amalaki, young lady, late teens, early 20s, beautiful young lady, decides that she wants to date somebody not pre-approved by her parents. That causes tension with the family. Then she decides to move in with her boyfriend's parents. She leaves home. Her father's response for or her father's attempt to restore honor, yeah, he stalks his daughter. She comes out of a store. The dad runs her over, stops the car, backs over his daughter, stops the car, puts it back in the drive, and runs her over again. Kills her with the car. Murders her dead. That was in Arizona. Now, the Arizona prosecutor said, you know, this is a classic example of first-degree murder. We could go for the death penalty on this one. First-degree murder, classic example, broad daylight. Not an accident, not hit and then, you know, run, or he hit, backed over, and then ran over again. Ran her over 3 times, broad daylight. But the prosecutor's a sophisticated, college-educated kind of guy, understands that all cultures are equal, I guess, because he said, we're going to take into the cultural context of what's going on here, because you have to understand this daughter brought dishonor to her family, and the dad had to do something. So we're not going to ask for the death penalty. We're going to take the cultural context as a mitigating factor. I'm not seeing it, people. I'm not seeing all cultures are equal. I think the proper response would have been to Mr. Malaki to say, hey, your murdered daughter, this is America. This isn't wherever you came from. This is America. And the penalty for that in America is we strap you to a chair and we send 15,000 volts through you, or whatever method of execution they may use in Arizona. One more thought here about all cultures are equal. Now, I have personal family members who are gay. I love them. May they live long and happy lives. We've had many discussions and debates on many different topics, one of which was same-sex marriage. I disagree with that, right? I disagree with same-sex marriage. May they live long and be happy. They won, the courts have ruled, whatever. I can still not be happy with it, but the fact is, this is America. We can have open discussion and we can agree to disagree and still be friends. In no way, shape, matter, or form would I want my gay family members to be murdered for the crime of being gay. There are some cultures in this world where if you're found to be gay, they'll throw you off a building high enough to ensure that you die. Think about that. They will murder homosexuals for the crime of being homosexual. In Iran, since we're talking about sexual mores, in Iran, there's a law against fornication. Fornication is a fancy word for sex outside of marriage. If a woman is raped in Iran, she's raped in Iran, and she goes to the police to report the crime of rape, she, as far as the Iranian government is concerned, is confessing to the crime of fornication and therefore will be executed. Get that? If you're found to be a victim of rape, you're guilty of fornication and you can be executed. Same thing happened in Yemen to a British woman. She was raped, went to the police to report the rape, and they said, oh, so you're confessing you had sex outside of marriage. And she got a little bit of a slap in the face of not all cultures are equal. It took a few months for her to get that kind of figured out. And they said, okay, here's the deal. How about you get on a plane, leave, and never come back? And she said, I can do that. Was that Yemen or was that United Arab Emirates? One of the two. But the fact is, if anyone tells you all cultures are equal, you can say to yourself, you have one of the following options to choose from. Multiple choice here. 1, the person is completely ignorant to the world around them. 2, they're nothing more than a parrot. They've heard someone teach this to them, and without any critical thinking, they took it as a matter of faith, and they are now mimicking what they've heard back to sound educated. Or 3, they understand the world around them, but they are being duplicitous because they have some other reason, some other motive, of which I'm not going to try to go into. There's lots of different people with lots of different reasons why they would do this. Linda Saussure would be one of them, but that would be a discussion for another day. Things to think about, my peoples. Not all cultures are equal. Not all cultures are equal. The evidence, well, if you take the time to study and learn, is self-evident. Something to think about. You have a great day.